Hi there, welcome back to Mr. Money Phone. My name is Ryan. Today I'll be showing you how to change camera settings with the iPhone 13 Pro. First, we're going to go to the Settings app and then go down to the camera settings. First, we're going to go to Formats. You can select High Efficiency to record in the HEVC format, which ensures that you have the smallest file sizes possible. I would recommend using this if you're taking very long videos. Some software doesn't support HEVC, in which case you should use most compatible because it uses H.264, which is the most compatible video format. Next, you can turn on and off Apple ProRAW, which enables you to take raw images when you take photos, which retain more information and have more dynamic range for editing. Next is Apple ProRes, which is basically the same exact thing, but for video. Apple ProRes video has higher dynamic range and more information, but takes up a lot more space. Next, we can look at the resolution and frame rate settings. Here you can change the resolution and the frame rate that you're shooting at for video. You can also show PAL formats, which are European formats that you can change to. Next, you have the option of turning on HDR video. This will give you more dynamic range in your video. It also includes Dolby Vision, but your camera will need to be in high efficiency mode to use it. Next, there is Auto FPS. Auto FPS will reduce the frame rate that your camera shoots at down to 24 so that in low light it picks up more light and it will reduce the file size of the video. And then finally, there's a lock camera option so that your camera doesn't automatically switch between the 3 cameras on the back when you're shooting videos. Next, we will look at the slow motion video settings. First, you have 1080p HD at 120 frames per second. Then there's 720p HD at 240 frames per second, which is slower but at a lower resolution. And then finally, there's 1080p HD at 240 frames per second, but that can only be used with high efficiency mode, so the video may not be compatible with certain software. I usually keep mine at 1080p HD at 120 frames per second. Next, there is an option to turn on and off stereo sound. With it on, your camera will record from 2 different microphones. With it off, it will record in mono. Next, there are the preserve settings. These settings allow you to preserve the last settings you used when you're using the camera app. So for the camera mode, it lets you preserve the last mode that you used. The creative controls allow you to use and save the last aspect ratio, light, and filters that you used. The exposure adjustment allows you to preserve the last exposure setting that you used, and night mode allows you to preserve whether the night mode setting was on or off. Same thing with portrait zoom. You can preserve the portrait zoom setting. You can also preserve if Apple ProRAW was on or off, and you can preserve if live photo is on or off. Next, there are options to allow you to use your up volume button to use burst photos. You can scan QR codes with your camera and show detected text in your photos. There's an option to turn on and off a grid, which looks like this. You can mirror the front-facing camera. You can turn on and off to be able to view the outside of the frame. Next, there are photographic styles. These are filters that you can use that are applied directly when you're taking photos. I choose to keep it standard so that I can put filters on afterwards. Next, there's an option to prioritize faster shooting. This intelligently adapts the image quality when you're rapidly taking a lot of photos. There is a lens correction option, which corrects the lens distortion on the wide angle lens. And then finally, there's an auto macro button, which automatically changes to the macro camera whenever you bring your camera close to something. And those are all of the camera settings when using the iPhone 13 Pro.